thread is a bit worryingly tight. There's a great team of us here. Everyone here I sort of taught at the beginning, but it's quite humbling in the sense that I can't spend 8 hours on the TIG anymore. So there's a lot of guys now who are really honed in and it's their kind of Zen specialty. I've really sort of handed over to them because they can really concentrate for hours on one particular thing, making it perfect, whereas I'm having to be much more of a director, overseeing it all. And the design has been very much led by me, but it's just drawn up and by people who I employ, and we're all artists. So there's been a sort of acknowledgement that I need to form creative partnerships, get these things to be as best as possible, rather than it just being me, the artisan, making them all, which I think is kind of an old-fashioned sort of idea anyway. We're at the stage where we're starting to assemble the first units. I mean, everything is sort of lying on the floor and into disparate parts at the moment, and it's sort of the beginning of the assembly, which is the really exciting bit and where things really start to visually sort of come together. So this is the core of the clock, really. So this is the non-moving part that's gripped by the sort of the saddle, which is then held suspended from the roof. This is the first rotating bit, which actually rotates quite stiff, but this bit rotates inside, and this is the hours. And then inside, what we're about to install was, so we're going to install this bearing in the back of this race here. So this is going to then enable us to install the minutes, which go inside that, and then further inside that Russian doll sequence will be the seconds, and then inside the seconds is a static shaft, which we need to drive our secondary and tertiary arms off. So it's quite a complex, very accurate mechanism. I'm going to put this in. So this is again is a moment where we don't know whether the measurements are quite right. This feels actually quite doesn't feel as tight as the other one. I'll probably put it in by hand. These pipes were, we drew them up in the studio and then we've sent them out because they're too big for our lathe. They've been machined in Kent, and these bearings have come from a satellite manufacturing company in America because they make very, very large, lightweight bearings that are designed to turn very, very slowly, but will last for decades. I mean, even though the show's only on for 3 weeks, this is not a set. You walk around the back of this, and it's not all just made with cardboard and wooden stilts. And this thing is built. I mean, there's a real intention, a pursuit of good design and the aesthetics of the machine and the beauty of the machine. And so the piece is designed to run for 5 years continuously without needing any maintenance. So it's a proper clock.
Can you edit this so it looks like it just goes straight on first time?
To make things last is a good justification for being an artist, I think, or be in this sort of environmental age where we're concerned with our environment and the amount we're using in terms of materials. If you make something that doesn't ever get thrown away because it's beautiful enough for people to look after it, I think it's a justification of actually something being so integral to an infrastructure. This is the main assembly. So you're going to have the static shaft in the middle, which drives the in-out motion of the seconds hands, which we're going to bolt onto here. So this is your seconds, and then this is your minutes. It's going to revolve around here. That's minutes, and then that's hours. Then the back end here is where all the cogs will go. This is where the gearbox will be mounted. It'll drive all these different arms at different speeds, which will then, on that end, these long arms here, like this one, will bolt onto the ends, and with the secondary and tertiary arms will like an 8-meter span. So yeah, and then this steel thing here is actually designed to put the clock in, so we can actually mount each arm on the thing, and then actually this thing is designed to tilt onto this face and then onto that face, so we can then mount it vertically or horizontally. So we've got a kind of it's a way of running it, because we put it in its vertical position, we'll be able to run the piece and test it in the studio before the show. Hopefully we're going to finish it a month before we have to install it and run it for a month, see if there's any problems. Some of these larger tubes we didn't turn ourselves because we can't fit them on our lathe, but all the design has been done in the studio. So all the mechanical engineering, the structural engineering, everything's been done in-house, and then we've just, wherever we've had to sort of farm it out because we just don't have the capacity to do some of the things. Yeah, I was going to put the this quadrant on, which is the thing that allows the clock to orientate. It's one of the later pieces. We've still got a lot to do, and we've got all the arms and I mean, everything's sort of still in components, but it's all coming together to assemble, and things are sort of finished in their separate entities, but they still need to be finally assembled, and it just takes a long time. The gearbox is pretty much done, and it's pretty exciting now. So you can see all these gears here, turning these different ones, and it's turning the end over here. And likewise, if I turn this one, these heat-treated ones, it's sort of beginning to turn all of these different gears. So it's pretty exciting, and this is one of the most nerve-wracking phases, was just getting all these gears that arrived from different companies, and just them needing to be like tenths of a millimeter accurate. I mean, hundreds of a millimeter, but they all have these really nice different sounds to them, which is quite beautiful. So this is just to show you brightnesses of the bulbs. So there'll be 3 of these that are independently dimmable on the machine. We're just mounting the secondary and tertiary arm on the end of the primary minutes. Anyway, it gives you a sense of the full length of it, how it sort of moves. One big clock. Well, we're a day before we are installing. We're just testing out the lights to see if the wiring loom works, so all the bulbs power up. So behind here is the gnomon, which is the shadow maker in the centre of the room, and then this piece here will go in the end here, and then another spike, the end goes on there. So it will be over 4 meters high, bolted to the floor, so it will create this very sort of monolithic centre to the room, and the clock will be above it like a sort of downturned sundial, kind of pulsing these shadows in and out that will recede and rotate around the space. So we're going to have to add a little bit more weight to this end, because you can see it's not quite balanced. The whole thing acts like a mobile. So you can see this end, these now turn kind of perfectly. It has to remain completely balanced for the whole thing to work. So we just got to add a little bit more weight to that end, which is fine. I mean, we've been working on it for 6 months solidly, but I've been probably 9 months. Since the conception, it's probably been 15 months or something since the first idea. Yeah. It's kind of nerve-wracking, but it's good. We're getting. I mean, it's been a hard thing making a clock, but we're getting there. I mean, it should be. I mean, yeah, it's good. I mean, it's nerve-wracking times, but it's going to be transported in a lorry that's coming tomorrow morning at like 7 in the morning, and it will be delivered to the Roundhouse. Yeah, it shouldn't. It'll actually pack down quite small. It's just it goes on this dolly, this sort of chariot that sort of carries it in. Yeah, it will. The arms will just be packed, bubble wrapped and packed up. After the show, we'll make a proper crate for it, but it just doesn't seem. It's such a short distance between here and the Roundhouse that it doesn't seem necessary to make crates for it now. It's really as much about the building as it is about the piece. It's really the piece will fill the space, I hope, with light, but it will really pay homage to it, I think.